Hi everyone, this video is for percent composition or percentage by mass. We're going to do a problem from your percent composition and empirical molecular formulas homework assignment. This assignment is to be done in your notebook, but I have a worksheet here that I'll show the work on. There are two questions about percent composition. We'll do one together. And remember, keep in mind that percent composition, all you're doing is calculating the percentage of each element that make up a certain compound. So depending on how many elements are in that compound, you'll have to do that many separate calculations. So why don't we go ahead and do number one. This is calculating the percent composition for plumbic bromide. So the first thing you want to do for any of these problems is figure out the correct formula for the compound. So that's going to be half of the work. If you don't have the right formula, you're not going to get the right percent composition. So plumbic bromide, this is an ionic compound. So remember how you figure out formulas for ionic compounds. Plumbic is right here, so it's Pb4+. Bromide is your anion. It has a charge of -1. So the formula here is going to be PbBr4. You need 4 bromines to balance out the charge of the lead, Pb4+. Okay, so now that we have that, we want to calculate the molar mass of the compound because that is the total mass, which goes on the bottom of our fraction here. So we'll find lead, which is right here, so its mass is 207.2. And remember, lead's the weird one in that it only goes to the 10th place, so that's going to limit our molar mass when we do our calculation. So we'll worry about that in a little bit here. And then we're going to add the mass of the bromines, and there are 4 of them. So after we find bromine here, it's 79.91. Since there are 4 of them in the formula, we need to multiply that mass by 4. And I told you in class that you don't really have to show the calculation for molar mass unless the question is specifically what is the molar mass. But it's really nice for percent composition because when you break up the individual calculations for each element, you can just take pieces of this calculation from your molar mass. So let's add up these masses to figure out our molar mass. Okay, so we get 526.84, but remember we're limited to the 10th place because we're doing addition. Lead mass only has to the 10th place, so we have to cut this off after the 8. 4 tells us we stay at 8. So the mass, the molar mass here is 526.8 grams. That's the molar mass or the total mass of the compound that's going to go on the bottom of our fraction when we're calculating the percent composition. So since we have 2 different elements, we're going to have to do 2 different calculations. So first, I'm going to start out with calculating the percentage of lead. So if I want to figure out how much of this mass is lead, then I'm going to take the part of it that was from lead, which is this part here. This is lead. So that's going to go on the top of my fraction. And on the bottom, it's the total mass of the compound. So 526.8 grams. I want to multiply this by 100 to turn it into a percentage. Okay, and I get 39.3318 blah blah blah. And sig figs, we're doing division now, so we count sig figs. Both these numbers have 4 sig figs. So I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4. I need to cut it off after the 3. It's followed by a 1, so we'll keep it at 3. So it's going to be 39.33%. So that's one of our answers. That's the percentage of lead. So of this molar mass, 39.33% of that mass is the lead. So then we would need to calculate the percent Br. That's the other element that's in this compound. Okay, so then again, you're going to look at your calculation for molar mass, and this whole part was from the bromine. Okay, so you need to multiply by 4 because you did that when you calculated your molar mass. So 4 times 79.91 and that's going to be over the total mass of the compound, or the molar mass. Multiply by 100 to turn it into a percent. Okay, and we get 60.67577, blah, blah, blah. This time we are allowed, again, 4 sig figs, 79.91, 526.8, both have 4 sig figs. So we look after the 7, it's a 5, but it's followed by a bunch of other stuff. So it's actually greater than 5, so we do want to round that up to an 8. So it's going to be 60.68%. And that's the percent that is lead, or bromine. Okay, so we get 60.68% bromine, 39.33% lead. One way that you can check your answer for these types of problems is that your percentages, whether there are 2 or 3 or 4 of them, when you add them together, it should roughly equal 100%. Because what you're saying is that of this total mass, what percent is lead, what percent is bromine. There's nothing else in this formula, so if you don't get 100%, you're missing some mass somewhere. The reason these don't exactly add up to 100 has to do with how you're rounding with sig figs, and that's one reason why you always want to do these 2 calculations and actually work them out, rather than just calculating 1 and subtracting it from 100. It won't always work out that way. These do not add up exactly to 100, but it's very, very close. And so after you get these answers, you can tell yourself or feel like your answers are probably correct if they add up to roughly 100. All right, so that's percent composition. Good luck with your homework.